Could you all please stand for the arrival of the procession?
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this amazing hour where we're going to celebrate these wonderful students' graduations, but also celebrate their time at this university and the support that you have given them as well. And this is also a very special ceremony today because we are giving an honorary degree to Carrie Summers, and she's here with her husband Mark and daughter Sienna, her mum and dad, and Judy and Humphrey, their friends too. So we welcome all of you, and we hope you have a wonderful time. The congregation is now open, and please sit down.
Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, graduands, it's a great pleasure to be able to deliver this oration on the occasion of the award of an honorary degree to Carrie Summers in recognition of her outstanding contribution to fair trade and leadership in advocacy for and recognition of sustainable practices in labor, trade, and production in the global fashion industry. Carrie Summers is someone deeply driven to address global social injustice and economic exploitation. In 1991, Carrie was completing a master's in Native American Studies at the University of Essex. She studied with indigenous artisans in Ecuador and examined changes in their textile industry. They were shifting from traditional natural dyes and backstrap looms to commercially oriented production. Carrie witnessed how traders exploited non-Spanish speaking artisans. They were overcharged and underpaid. They had little access to markets. They were attacked when they tried to set up their own market stalls. So Carrie wanted to do something. She graduated with her MA in 1991, and the University of Essex offered her a fully funded PhD to study natural dyes and the symbolism of color in the Andes. This did not happen. Instead, Carrie recognized the most impactful thing she could do was to make a difference to the artisans of Ecuador. She decided to take on the fashion industry. You might remember that in the early 1990s, fair trade meant rather undrinkable coffee. Carrie was the first person to put fair trade and fashion together by expanding fair trade to clothing. Carrie returned to Ecuador with £1,000, 500 from her mom and dad, and 500 from a bank. An artisans cooperative made her a collection of knitwear, and she launched her fair trade knitwear at a festival in Devon. Festival goers scoffed at her woolly jumpers until overnight the temperature fell. The jumpers sold out. Meanwhile, artisans in Ecuador were able to afford school fees and health care. and Carrie put her PhD on hold. She borrowed a further £5,000, navigating theft, death threats, and economic upheaval. She developed her collections. In England, she lived in her pea green Dodge van and sold fair trade clothing at university markets and folk festivals. The police often mistook her van for part of a hippie convoy, but she was really a cutting-edge social entrepreneur. Carrie really cracked the big time when she received an order from the Conran shop for Panama hats. Those hats became the biggest seller in Conrad's gardening department, sold in the UK, France, Japan, etc. That launched Pachacuti as a brand, and Carrie withdrew from her PhD in 1992. You may recognize these from the Quidditch scene in Harry Potter. So now, in more appropriate headwear, Pachacuti was the first company in the world to be fair trade certified by the World Fair Trade Organization. Pachacuti pioneered supply chain transparency back to raw materials, becoming a trailblazer in an industry built on secrecy and injustice. 30 years later, Pachacuti is still stocked by Conran and is still trading from a shop front nearby in Leek and online. These Panama hats have transformed what was originally a symbol of colonial domination into a globally recognized exemplar of artisanal skill and supply chain transparency. So Carrie recognized that transparency in supply chains can validate companies' claims about workers' conditions. In 2013, over 1,135 workers died in the collapse of the Rana Plaza garment factory in Bangladesh, and Carrie knew what needed to change. She realized that brands did not know what their relationship was to the factory complex there. She saw that supply chains had to be made visible, with companies disclosing their relationships to suppliers and manufacturers and taking responsibility for the conditions of workers. In a moment of inspiration, in her bathtub in Leek, Fashion Revolution, the world's largest fashion activism movement, was born. Earlier this year, you would have seen Carrie looking down from the NASDAQ billboard onto Times Square in New York. Fashion Revolution has posted on billboards across the city during the New York Fashion Week, encouraging the world to think about ethics and sustainability in fashion. With the tagline, "Who Made My Clothes?" you'll see Fashion Revolution campaigns supported by celebrities in glossy magazines. But you also see the results of Carrie's campaigning in tangible changes in the industry. Brands are listening, so are governments, and so are we as consumers. Fashion Revolution produces the global standard Fashion Transparency Index, which is the most respected index of its kind. And the index ranks 250 of the world's largest fashion brands and retailers according to the level of public disclosure on human rights and environmental policies, practices, and impacts. Fashion Revolution is currently leading the Good Clothes Fair Pay campaign, pushing for groundbreaking EU legislation to achieve living wages for textile and garment workers around the world. Fashion Revolution runs Fashion's Futures and the Sustainable Development Goals, an open learning course. 35,000 learners are either on it or have completed it, and they're now building grassroots coalitions for change in fashion consumers' daily lives. So if you know who made your clothes, you can thank Fashion Revolution and Carrie Summers, a proud Staffordshire entrepreneur and global fashion campaigner, for holding fashion companies to account. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you Carrie Summers to be admitted to the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa.
Thank you. Carrie Summers, by virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Letters, honoris causa. Many congratulations.
Chancellor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, graduands, it is not every university that would bestow an honorary doctorate on a fashion activist. But the University of Keele is not just any university. It is leading the way when it comes to embedding sustainability and ethics across its operations, teaching and research. And it is therefore with deep gratitude that I accept this honorary doctorate as an outward expression of the inner spirit of this fine institution. Soon after the university offers you an honorary doctorate, one of the first questions they ask is the size of your hat. Now, this was a question I could easily answer. Working out what to say to you in the next 4 minutes took a little bit longer. But on reflection, I think that one of the most important things I have learned over the 3 decades since graduating is that sometimes it's all right not to have a clear career path mapped out before you. Sometimes you choose the hat you want to wear, but sometimes that hat chooses you. And sometimes you might end up wearing multiple hats all at the same time until you work out which one fits you best. But that's okay, because change does not emerge out of comfort. Now, as you heard from Deirdre, when I had the idea for Fashion Revolution, my Sunday night bath was very comfortable, thank you. But I had to get out of that bath when I had the idea, go into my cold bedroom and pick up the phone. I really believe if I had stayed in my warm bath, laid back and done nothing about it at the time, Fashion Revolution would not have happened. And dozens of policymakers would not have engaged with groundbreaking legislation, and hundreds of brands would not have been pushed towards greater transparency, and millions of ordinary people around the world would not have become fashion revolutionaries. Now, I didn't know how to run a global movement. All I knew was Patrick, a small but pioneering hat brand. And yet, Fashion Revolution ended up influencing not just the fashion industry, but it helped to change the way that other well-established large global organisations ran their campaigns as well. We believe that change would come faster if we built partnerships rather than animosity, and if we put forward a positive vision of the industry that we wanted to see. We came into the space with a different perspective. We challenged the established way of doing things, and it worked. 2 years ago, my interest in tackling microfiber pollution took me on a sailing voyage to Easter Island, and I started to read about the explorer Alexander von Humboldt, who gives his name to one of the ocean currents orbiting the South Pacific Gyre. Now, Humboldt was a man who wore an awful lot of hats. Art history, poetry, philosophy, politics, all were encompassed within his scientific method. And his observations were tested as much by his body and spirit as by his mind. Feelings were as important to him, to his worldview, as empirical evidence, and emotions were as essential as rational thought. Humboldt looked for connections everywhere he went, and he found them, revolutionizing how we see the natural world. In the same way, I believe that whatever you have studied, whatever field you have chosen to work in, you all have an important role to play in redesigning a more sustainable future. So I want to encourage you to go out with confidence into our beautiful, damaged, exhilarating, challenging world, putting into practice all you have learned in your time at Keele. But I want you to do more than this. I want you to go out with questions and doubt, to look for connections, to look for solutions, and dare to look for better ways of doing things. And don't accept that something can't be done that way until you have tried. The future is yours, but more importantly, the future is you. Thank you.
Graduands, please stand. Chancellor. On behalf of the Senate, I present to you these candidates who have been found worthy to be admitted to the degrees for which they have been awarded. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy and a thesis entitled The Impact of Principal Party Strategies on the Radical Right in a Search of a Silver Bullet, Grant Mitchell. For the degree of Master of Arts, Hussein Amjad Bidawi. Dyson Sambarashe Chikuku. Pamela Eromwon Egbibo. For the degree of Master of Arts and Bachelor of Arts, and the winner of the Owen Powell Student Prize and the Spire Postgraduate Dissertation Prize, Zhong-Yi Liu. For the degree of Master of Science, Majed Jazi Al-Harbi. For the degree of Postgraduate Certificate, Patrick Joseph Connell. Scott Mark Romeo Mahedeo. May I ask the students who have just been conferred to stand?
By virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit them to the awards for which they are listed. Many, many congratulations to you all. Well done.
Please be seated.
It's a pleasure to welcome you all here to celebrate the achievements of our students who do so much at Keele. And I know how much, and will, I know, achieve so much when they leave. These are not the conditions for long speeches, but I bet you wish you weren't here on Monday or Tuesday when it was about 30 degrees warmer than this. But it's important that we just reflect on what you've all achieved and what exciting things lie ahead for you. And what a journey you've been on. Your experience at university has been different from most of those who went before you and most who will come after you. You have been through all the various stages of lockdown, a word that a few years ago none of us had any idea what it meant. Through times of genuine fear, it's hard to remember what changes we've all had to endure. It was tough, but none of us had a choice, and we had to adapt, and you did. As a university community, you had to pivot very quickly into using online education in a way that we've never done at scale before. To keep going with your studies at a time of such huge uncertainty and stress is a major achievement. You may well feel that you've missed out on things, and there's no doubt that you did miss out on a lot of the social interactions that are a really important part of university life. This will have been particularly hard for those of you who were in your first year at the time of lockdown. I hope and even presume that many of you managed to make up for it since the restrictions came to an end. I'd like you to remember that you've also learnt a lot from this experience, and you've had a real chance to stand out from the crowd in many aspects of life. I'm in no way underestimating how hard it was for you. None of us would have wished that on you at all, especially when all the friendships and networks that you would normally develop in your life all often happen at university. It's a very important time. But the adaptability, the resilience, and the determination that was needed to get through your degree was astonishing. You should be very proud. In a life when all of those things will be needed, you've been there and you've done it. And when things get tough in the future, just remember what you've shown yourselves to be capable of. I also hope you recognise the efforts of the amazing staff here at Keele, all the things they've done to help you through your degrees. They also had to change quickly during COVID and were often coping with difficult domestic situations, while quickly and dramatically changing the way that education was being delivered to you. Our educators continue to receive national recognition in all sorts of ways, and I'm pleased that the very recent Student Crowd survey placed us first in the UK, as judged by the responses of our students. I'm certainly very proud of our staff and the way they've coped with this, and I think you do indeed all appreciate what they do. It's an incredible achievement. This staff effort is also reflected in the progress that the university has maintained during the last few years. The opening of the new Keele Vet School, with the first students arriving in 2020, and with a new building the following year, is a huge step forward for Keele, as is the development of the energy park, with 2 wind turbines and 12,000 solar panels. And you won't be surprised, maybe, to know, on Tuesday, we weren't just using the electricity that the solar panels and the wind turbine produced, we were also exporting the electricity we didn't need. We take our responsibility for helping with the climate emergency very seriously, and I hope that you all have developed a strong appreciation of the challenge and what might be done about it. In the last year or two, we've also developed the campus further. For example, through the opening of the new central area in Chancellor's building, and in what has been described as one of the most important advances at Keele for years, and being a retailer, I fully support this move, the opening of the Co-op and the mighty Greggs. The staff at Keele are always very proud of our students and alumni, but the respect they have for you is even greater than normal. I'm sure that those of you who are family and friends of our graduates are also brimming with pride today, and so you should be. And before we go any further, can I, on your behalf, thank your friends and families, as well as the staff at the university, for supporting you during your time at Keele. Today, you can allow yourself to be very proud of your own achievements. All of you have been on a big adventure that will have challenged the way you think, taught you new skills, opened up new worlds, and set new horizons. You will also have undergone this huge transition alongside students, either physically or remotely, from every part of society in the UK, and indeed from many parts of the world. Education is a critical mediator of understanding of other cultures, and this is even more important when the biggest challenges that we face in society can only be solved through collaboration on a global scale. It is with this aim of impacting the future of society around the world that here at Keele we're putting significant attention into new research institutes that are aimed at addressing 4 of the biggest challenges we face as a global population. These are social inclusion, sustainable futures, global health, and ensuring that we all maximise the benefits of a digital society. We have literally hundreds of our staff performing leading research in these areas, and I'm confident that these institutes will have a big impact on society in the years ahead. As I've said, we clearly hope that the environment you have been in here at Keele has prepared you to thrive in that global environment. This background will help you play your part in meeting the big challenges and taking the opportunities that they present with a confidence that will see you continuing the tradition of Keele students having a genuine impact on society. This may be through the professional lives that you undertake, or through the way you live your lives at a personal level, looking after your own health, reducing the adverse effects we all have on the planet, and showing respect and concern for those in less privileged positions than yourselves are all important parts of being players in a forward-looking and civilised society. You have experienced a rate of change that feels unusual, but it's likely that this will become the norm. And these skills that you have seen through the last couple of years will make you adaptable to those changes. In 20 years' time, many of you will be doing jobs that haven't even been invented yet. So, contrary to opinion in some parts of society, universities are not just here to train you for your first job. So when situations change enormously, the value of a university education is to put you in a position where you can adapt to these changes and thrive in a modern society. The world will continue to change very quickly, But as graduates, you have developed skills to help you thrive, as long as you maintain a personal commitment to continuing to learn throughout your lives. I have 4 tips for you to think about when you have big decisions to make in life. The first is to stick to your values. Whether it's a friendship or a new job, you will thrive in an environment that sits well with your values. You may end up earning less money or having fewer but closer friends, but you will be your best when you're with people who get you and you get them. The second is to work hard. I sometimes get this wrong, but I try to focus on getting not a good work-life balance, but a good life-work balance. I've never met anybody who wishes they'd spent more time in the office. And thirdly, be kind. As an employer, I get more satisfaction by being kind than making money. Funnily enough, the kinder you are as a colleague and as a leader, the more successful you will be too. Kindness doesn't mean you're a pushover, but it shows you care and you value everyone as an equal. And finally, take risks. For me, the biggest risk I took was employing prison leavers to work in my shops. Many people thought I'd completely lost the plot. When you walk around a prison and you meet a burglar and an armed robber and you ask them to come into one of my shops to cut keys for customers, you can see how the problem could emerge. But I saw the talent when walking the prison wings and wanted to give ex-offenders a second chance. I took a risk on them and they took a risk on me. Not everyone is comfortable taking risks, but the way we innovate and improve the world is by taking calculated risks. So life, in some ways, is like looking out of a car window. The way ahead has a wide screen to look through. The view is limitless, with so much to see and soak up. There is also one little rear-view mirror and 2 small side mirrors. These are to look back. By all means, look back at your time at Keele with pride, the friends you met, the knowledge you learned, and the contribution that you made. Keele will always be part of you, but the focus is now on your future. This is a university that we hope you will continue to be proud being associated with, and you will continue to think of as part of your personal future. You now join over 100,000 Keele alumni in all corners of the globe. Alumni demonstrate great value to each other and to the next generations of students through their networks and their links back to Keele. Please keep in touch. This place will always be a kind of home for you. Make sure we have your contact details, sign up for the Alumni Association, come back to visit us, and think about how one day you may want to give back to the university in the way the university has given to you. Your time and experience will be hugely valuable to us, and you may well feel that you wish to partner with us on various projects in the future. Our arms are always open for you. So that's it. You've made it. You're leaving here with a qualification that cannot be taken away, one that people will respect the world over, and that will open doors and opportunities for you. But you now need to make it work for you. You can afford to be ambitious. Indeed, you owe it to yourselves to be ambitious. It will be tough, but if you don't stretch yourself and reach for what you truly want, you'll always regret it. I hope you, our next generation of graduates, will have seen yourselves as part of a thriving university, a university that has valued your presence, and you can now go out there and make a real difference. So with that, can I, on behalf of Keele University, give you, our new graduates, our heartiest congratulations and wish you good health, great happiness, and enormous success in everything that you do. Congratulations.
Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you these candidates who have been found worthy to be admitted to the degrees for which they have been awarded. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts, Samuel James Cartledge. Ali Mohammed Konar Al-Zajleh. Nicola Angeli. Melissa Jade Barron. James Matthew Bennett. Safia Thier Amir. Sophie Alexandra Bien Noviakovsky. Emily May Burks. Lucas Marley Boble. Michael Jared Bradshaw. Oriol Atomima Akintunde Braithwaite. Briar Rose Jessie Brooks. Janita Aftab Bukhari. Winner of the Martin Harrison Politics Dissertation Prize and the Professor Rosemary O'Kane Student Prize, Georgia Louise Cresswell. Samuel Charles Darwin. Millie Lauren Mara Davies. Anoop Kaur Danda. Georgia Marie Doyle. Samuel Edward Elphick. Aidan Sebastian James Gallagher. Matthew Robert Gate. Bethany Marie Gaunt. Winner of the Owen Powell Student Prize, Caitlin Anja Gray. Elliot J. Gregory. Sean Mark Irish. Kiran Kaur Johal. Louis Thomas Robert Keane. Isabel James Kingston. Winner of the Adams Prize for American History, Samantha Joanne Layden. Briggs Colin George Litecro. Alicia Marie Lee. Winner of the Martin Dent Memorial Award, Jamie Gareth Lee. Thomas Joseph Scargill Logan. Ryan Mattox. Callum John Ryan Macara. Bronwyn Isabella Mitchell. Grace Ann Ormandy. Matthew George Olufemi Osinebi. Malik Karim Adel Osman. Winner of the Adams Prize for American History, Julie Crystal Patel. William James Llewellyn Piercy. Emily Mary Johnson Pike. Ashlyn Bethany Pugh. Florence Matilda Violet Rothwell. Phoebe Russell. Rose Ryan. Winner of the Martin Dent Memorial Award, Wazir Sahai. Morgan Seville. Paramdeep Kaur Shokar. Luke Eric Skelding. Mayowa James Sorimikon. James Russell Souter. Jeffrey James Stevens. Alec John Swatton. Winner of the Owen Powell Student Prize, the Marjorie Cruikshank Local History Prize and the Wedgwood History Dissertation Prize, Benjamin Michael Trevaines. Francisco Xavier Vasconez Baladeres. Neve Sarah Walker. George William Warmby. Zara Jade Wilson. For the degree of Bachelor of Science, Bethany Jones. Megan Beth Spittle. Kerry Sutton. May I ask the students who have just been conferred to stand?
By virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit them to the awards for which they are listed. Many congratulations. Well done.
Please be seated. Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you in absentia those candidates who appear listed in the programme who are not present.
By virtue of my authority as Chancellor, I admit them to the awards for which they are listed. Thank you.
Let us give thanks on this special day in a moment of reflection or prayer according to your practice or belief. We give thanks for our university and recommit ourselves to its mission, that the tasks of education and research may continue to be carried out with integrity. We give thanks for the vision of our founding principal, Lord Lindsay, who directed that Keele exist for the pursuit of truth in the company of friends. The university's foundation also drew on the historic motto of the Sneed family, to thank God for all. May that spirit of friendship and thankfulness continue to be fostered by all at Keele. We give thanks for our graduates as they conclude this stage of their education. May their skills and qualifications be used for good in their communities and beyond. We give thanks for all staff who have taught and supported them in their learning. May they know the lasting impact their work has had and the change they have enacted in the lives of our graduates. We give thanks for the families and friends present here and around the world. Let us acknowledge with gratitude the love, care, and encouragement they have given and continue to show towards our students. May we look forward with hope to the future, that the successes of this university and its graduates will continue to grow, that the gifts we celebrate today will be used fruitfully, that the world may become a better place. May I please invite you to stand.
Thank you. So just before we finish, I would just like to say a couple of thank yous. The first thank you is to the staff who've taught you throughout your degree, as well as the family and friends who've supported you, and also to thank you for being wonderful friends to each other during what has often been quite a choppy last 3 years. And when I think back to my time at university and the friends I made, many of whom I still have, and I hope many of you will remain friends throughout your lives. The university experience is a bit like a rock that's always with you, that you know it's there and you know you can rely on it, because it's been a formative time in your life where you've learnt a lot, you've experienced a lot, and you've gained a huge amount. So please take all the wonderful things you've learnt and go and have an amazing life, do wonderful things, explore the world, and give back as much as you can. But once again, many, many congratulations. Go and have a fantastic celebration after this. You really deserve it. The congregation is now closed.